Cloud9 just took their comp and ran with it. They knew exactly what they wanted it to do. Meteos was able to execute the early game, and we're back into draft now for game number 2. We'll see what NRG change on the blue side, because game 1, unfortunately for them, was not close.
Yeah, and I'd say the only thing that Cloud9 would want to improve upon a little bit is either helping out Impact a little bit more in a calculated fashion, or him just playing more conservatively and being willing to fall further behind. Because that feels like the one place where you can kind of attack Cloud9 right now. The games they've lost has been games where Impact has fallen really far behind.
And in general, Impact has been sticking to, you know, some of those safer champions. He's not really going for the big carries, although I guess some of those are starting to drop out of the meta. We'll see what he gets this game, I suppose, as the Ash and Bard ban from NRG. So Bunny Fufu getting some respect off the bench. And there's Twitch and Vlad ban for Cena, and there's the Rise going to join in. So pretty standard stuff here. NRG, a bit more targeted on their bans.
Yeah, we'll be curious to see if Bunny will eventually just pick Thresh later in the game. It'll depend on whether or not the enemy composition would be weak to some Thresh hooks. It varies by champion, but obviously Bard being banned away is strong. Question though is obviously with the Vladimir banned, like, what is the highest first pick value for NRG now?
Apparently it's Trundle. Kloss, again, he's been showing up on almost every champion he's played. It's a strong top laner. It's relatively safe to pick blind. Like, I feel like Cloud9 aren't really surprised by this, but if the plan for NRG is to get Kloss going, this is probably a decent champion to do that on.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because this is a matchup that Cloud9 was pretty fine with in the previous game. A lot of stuff obviously still available as well. They could go with the Lissandra now. There's some power picks up if they want them. Rek'Sai is something that was banned last game that would technically be available. You would expect Cloud9 to pick that now. But we'll have to see what they decide. They're bouncing between a few hovers.
Yeah, they're thinking maybe about the Aurelia, but perhaps don't fancy the matchup. Melee champions in general don't like playing up against the Trundle, but I feel like Meteos almost has to take Rek'Sai here. I wonder if NRG have a specific plan for the pick, but this would be perfectly good. Lissandra flex pick, strong jungler. Cloud9 going to start off strong here on the red side for this draft.
Yeah, I agree. Hovering longer than is customary for Cloud9. Back in the day, they'd always just be two guys, boom. Reaper maybe instituting more casual of a pick and ban phase.
Lemon's back somewhere on the challenger team, shaking his head.
Yeah, it's just like they're giving him too much time to react to these picks. They hovered Lissandra and Rek'Sai for 5 seconds before locking. Because that essentially extends the timer of the other team to respawn. Well,
C9 do take the picks we expect there. Lissandra and Rek'Sai were the first two. We'll see what NRG have to answer with, because again, this is a pretty predictable start to this draft, which isn't too surprising. See if Santorin finally goes to the Eve. He's been hovering it a lot. I believe it's one of his favorite champions.
We've seen a little bit of Eve. We've seen a little bit of it in the LCS here, but hasn't found much success, that's for sure. Really slow ban phase, pick and ban phase for these guys so far. A lot of discussion going on. A lot of times after a quick loss like that, you would expect a faster pick and ban phase for NRG, which kind of makes me think they spent the majority of their post-game discussion figuring out what was wrong in-game rather than planning strategy for the next game, because it feels like a lot of this is being done on the fly.
Yep, well, there's Zyra and Victor for NRG, so pretty standard stuff for the support and mid lane role. GBM will actually take a pick away from Jensen as well, so with Azir banned out, Jensen's champion pool not cut down at all, but certainly reduced based on his preferences that we've seen. Maybe he goes back to Cassio, and I do love Kiwi Kid on the Zyra. Zyra just such a strong support.
Exactly, and maybe Jensen just goes with Lissandra and they give Impact Aurelia in the top lane. Cloud9 has all the options. But to go back to your point, I think the Zyra support is ridiculous right now. Like, it is just so strong, especially late in the game when it gets Leandries, to be able to bring that much damage and pick potential from the support position with fairly low gold cost items, plus having a strong laning phase. Like, the main weakness is you can get caught out and your positioning is very punishable. And oftentimes it's Olaf who actually destroys Zyra. But when Rek'Sai is already locked in, it makes Zyra an even higher value pick.
Yep, feels like almost a blocker pick as well to the Sivir Karma sort of strategy. So there is actually going to be Braum and Jhin for C9, perhaps pivoting there, seeing that Zyra on the other side.
This is more of what we expected from Sneaky in Game 1 with the Ashe ban, because currently Jhin is the closest analog to Ashe as far as what you bring to the team. Decently strong laning, somewhat long-range initiating marksman.
Plenty of strong utility. I love it. Sneaky's Jhin, a thing of beauty, certainly. But Bunny Fufu actually just going to take Braum instead. So sticking to that strong melee support, rock solid really is. Braum, again, should be a tough laning phase, depending on what OQ goes for on the carry spectrum as well. But they took the 2v2 they didn't necessarily want last game, and we're fine. We'll see if maybe they get the swap. But if not, feels like C9's bottom lane can certainly hold their own.
It definitely feels like C9's bottom lane is not scared of OQ and Kiwi Kid at all. It's another lane that should be pretty good against it. It should actually win. Zyra should be very good against Braum, but I wouldn't be surprised if C9's totally fine just taking the lane heads up.
Yep, and there's the Lucian and Gragas to round things out for NRG. So Zyra Lucian, pretty strong, aggressive bottom lane there for NRG. Santorin does go back to Gragas though for his pick, so he's played this a little bit into the Rek'Sai. Started to see Olaf here and there for particular players, but Santorin seems to like this side of the matchup instead.
Yeah, and it's just good general initiation tools. I think even when Gragas came into the meta back when the Cinderhulk buff happened way back in the day, he's always been an exceptional Gragas. So him picking it here, no surprise, and it's specifically good against Jhin, I think, for his relatively low mobility.
And perhaps Jensen, who looks to be the last pick here, with Impact probably taking Lissandra again. Maybe fancies going back to his old Assassin days. He's played a few Assassins here and there. This split of the NA LCS, and it will be LeBlanc into Victor. So
this is actually a solo lane combination I'm not a fan of. A lot of times with double AP, one of the big strengths of LeBlanc is that you force the enemy to build a Mar to avoid getting bursted. But you're now giving them extra value with that because they have 2 burst-focused mages, so they can't win in the sustained DPS war, and also if there's burst protection, they would lose that as well. The only reason it would work is because with the Zyra support, that would almost always be a burstable target if Kiwi Kid decides to do the normal Zyra build and take advantage of the damage. So this is actually a game where I feel like Cloud9 does have to win pretty quickly. Yes, and I think you always look at wave clear versus no wave clear mid laners and think, well, hope you don't lose your turret, Jensen, because things are probably going to go bad very quickly. But certainly a good LeBlanc player. Curious to see what he does in the 1v1. Maybe just feeling a bit more aggressive, you know? He's had a good game one. He got to play Vlad. He's like, give me the Assassin. Let's end this series 2-0. Because that's been the sort of statements Cloud9 have been making recently. A lot. And, I mean, this could be their best week yet with their really dominating 2-0 against Envy and their incredibly dominating game 1 against NRG. It would feel pretty good to get out of here with a quick 2-0, 4-game week. Easy. Well, as we look onto the riff, remember to keep those votes updated by tweeting at LoL eSports with the hashtag NRGWin or the hashtag C9Win. It's been a rough road for NRG, certainly, in Cloud9 appear to be on the rise. We'll see if maybe a Game 3 can be forced here by NRG, but Cloud9, they're interested in having a nice early weekend. Exactly, and I was extremely skeptical of C9's roster when they announced it at the start of the year. It had a lot of talent in, but hearing that Meteos was coming back and hearing that they had rotating supports, and also Impact had a very underwhelming last split on Energy, especially considering the last time they had lost high and Meteos was in the jungle, he wasn't necessarily able to shot call, the team lost faith in him, and it ended in him stepping down, and I was thinking, like, what has changed to make this work the second time around? Apparently a lot. Yes. They have Reaper instilled now, and the team really respects him as a coaching voice, and it definitely feels like just the teamwork between Meteos and Jensen is much higher this time around. So really, I've just been very impressed with C9's ability to make it work so far with this iteration and finally moving on really from high. Well, certainly been a good look for the new Cloud9, if you will, but we'll see if they can get it done here in Game 2 or if NRG fancy themselves a win and perhaps a series win if they can force it to Game 3 and get their win there. Sneaky, though, on the Jhin, hanging out towards that mid-section of the map, so it looks to be another lane swap, but read pretty easily here by NRG. They're going to make their way back into the same start we had in Game 1, which looks to be standard lanes, just upside down. Just where I like them. This one, much more blind, though. I believe they don't have... Yeah, there's not wards on the Groms to see the start. And this will be interesting whether Sneaky and Bunny actually start a camp or if they try to late invade here. So it's going to be tweaked a little bit. Their timing on this evade is going to have to be very exact. Yep. 130 now, but not moving just yet. Yep, there's the ping. Immediately they move out. I'm going to get spotted by the ward, which barely times out. Oh, he probably saw that, and that'll stop them from doing the camp. The question will be whether or not they can lay a bunch of damage down when C9 go to check. Time to leave. Yep. And we're good. Yep. They prevent the camp. Essentially, Jhin and Braum wouldn't be able to take the camp nearly as well as Zyra and Lucian, so they just want to take a 0 camp start and ensure that. So I think that's a success for Cloud9. Yep, certainly is. Nice even start here as we'll begin our 2v2 lane here in the top lane. Sneaky's Jhin pretty strong. We'll see if the aggressive 2v2 lane from NRG can find any traction in the early stages. But standard lanes again looking pretty similar. This may be the big matchup to watch there as Jensen does move in for a bit of poke, but GBM ready with the laser does get the trade back. Yeah, and this lane, believe it or not, is decided more early than it is late because it's all about the item thresholds you can reach. GBM is going to need to get 1 upgrade of his Hex Core so we can clear the wave quickly and magic resistance. If he gets to those 2 items before Jensen can build damage, Victor actually wins the lane and can consistently shove in LeBlanc. If that doesn't happen, LeBlanc will have enough burst to take out Victor, prevent him from wave clearing, have kill threat, and also roam threat. So really expect maybe early ganks in that mid lane because it is so volatile.
Yep, Meteos again was able to set the pace of game 1, and here he is already in game number 2. Looking for that gank in mid. Torres here, the belly bump. Jensen, damage is there, and they're going to have to move it around. The chain's going to land onto GBM. Meteos going to try and turn it around. Jensen moves back in, flushes out of the way, gets the outplay and stacks first blood.
And that was really cool. Everyone in that fight seemed to play it exceptionally well, but specifically Jensen hopping back and forth and neutralizing the level 3 gank from Santorin. I believe Jensen actually pinged level 3. As Meteos arrived, would have had to skill up, and then because he was able to land the chain on GBM, it's just, we have to see this again. So instantly gets him level 2, then level 3 as he's dashing away. But then they get the chain into the knockup, and GBM cleanses, and then look at that from Jensen. He still gets hit by the laser, but GBM just doesn't have enough damage. And the fact the first blood goes to Jensen instead of Meteos just adds insult to injury. Second Doran's ring already for Jensen, no summoners on GBM, and that is going to be a difficult lane for GBM to deal with now.
Early question answered. We talked about it. Can they snowball the mid lane on the Cloud9 side? Well, they're going to give it a go,
gank again.
3v1 right now for Jensen. CV Magic's his way out of this one. Damage in from Oki. Flash ball from Kiwi Kid. Jensen.
And he...
Whoa, he goes back! And now GBM going to try and chase him down, but he might have made enough space. The heal used as well. They're committing everything to kill Jensen, but here's Buddy Fufu saving the day, puts up the door, and escorts LeBlanc out to safety.
Oh my god, that is now 4 flashes and 7 overall summoner spells that NRG has used in pursuit of Jensen for nothing. They get no kills, and in fact, it's still Jensen who walked away with the first blood in the first gank. Wow, that is a big hole for NRG to now pull themselves out of.
And so many resources committed, but Cloud9 find themselves with the only kill of the game onto its most important member for this game. Sneaky gonna push that wave in. Kloss just gonna farm out what he can. His impact just hanging back, doesn't want to get ganked, but we set it all up, and look what happened.
Yeah, we're like, the early lane is gonna be pretty important. NRG was like, okay, GBM, carry us, please. And it just hasn't been able to work. Now an early blue buff goes over to Jensen as well. This flash will be up soon. So Oki did heal flash, Kiwi Kid did flash, GBM did cleanse flash, and Santorin did flash. Six overall summoner spells were burned. Obviously Meteos, Jensen, and Bunny Fufu all helped out a little bit, but a lot of that was just in Jensen outplaying and just distorting wherever he wanted to.
Oh, that chain.
Oh, so much free harass.
Easy damage there for Jensen. That blue buff going to start to cause some problems. And we talked about it. With initiative, LeBlanc can really start to snowball almost any lane. This one, no exception. See if GBM can collect his farm safely. Or if Jensen, especially once he gets that ultimate, just going to start looking to kill him or kill other people in the side lanes. It really is all about the mid lane right now, especially given how much investment both teams have had early on.
Yeah, I will say, though, because of the early gank, he won't hit level 6 before GBM, but they know GBM is out of flash.
Jensen goes in. Meteos going to look for it. Q lands in. GBM in trouble. Going to get tagged up. The stun lands in. Jensen needs one more auto. Does get it down, and Santorin's too late.
Really close, actually, to connecting with that body slam that may have trapped Jensen in turret range, but doesn't matter. Get another kill on a GBM, and maybe the snowball continues.
Certainly looks like it.
Impact wants to kill Quas.
Quas going to get dope, perhaps. Level 6 there for Lissandra. Low on mana. Of course, now level 6, and I think that threat's gone.
Really dangerous to dive a Trundle as well, especially with minions dying around, since he heals off of just anything that dies. Really just perfect chain. Looks like his cleanse was just coming off cooldown as that gank was approaching, so he couldn't necessarily cleanse the chain, and they just moved their crowd control all together and got him down.
Yep, 2 kills before level 6 for Jensen. Now goes back, got a Fiendish Codex added in for some early power. Up a little bit in CS, GBM's lane's about to get awfully rough if it wasn't already.
Yeah, exactly. And we mentioned about those item breakpoints that he needs to be able to hit. Really, GBM isn't safe until he has that upgrade and a Negatron cloak, and he's still not there. 235 gold towards his magic resist item. He can kind of clear the wave, but he can only get into range to clear the wave while he's in threat for his life. So Jensen will continue to be a bully in that matchup.
Back in the top lane though, Sneaky with the early BF sword. OQ still sticking with the Ghostblade builds. It's been still the standard for the Lucians, despite some small tweaks on this particular patch.
Yeah, both of these dual lanes have actually traded ganks in mid, and the lane is equalized, mostly. So I say this is also just Cloud9 laning better, because I do feel like this is one of those matchups that is dictated heavily by the support. Jhin and Lucian don't necessarily have a really favorable matchup to one side. It's even slightly favorable for Lucian, but it's not going to tilt the lane entirely. It would be Desire versus the Braum, and it hasn't done so. So great job by C9, Sneaky and Bunny. And another poor job by OQ and Keeley Kid to make stuff happen in favorable matchups.
Yep, I feel like that's also reflected in the bottom side of the map actually as well, because Impact, no attention this time, is actually up 15 CS versus Quas in the same matchup he just played and ran into trouble with. So seems like he's made some good adjustments. Rod of Ages on the way with both the Catalyst and the Blasting one now completed. That's a great showing for Impact. Left isolated, able to just handily take over the early parts of a lane.
Yeah, and we have to remember, like, Impact can still be a very good individual player. It's just the fact that he's not getting the help from his team. In this game, he didn't get ganked. And he's in a ranged Lissandra versus melee Trundle matchup, so he actually should be winning that lane, and he is.
Well, good stuff there from Impact as Cloud9 again playing around their mid lane. And Meteos continuing to take jungle camps away, though. How very cheeky. Level 6 now on the Rek'Sai. Santorin, though, also with his ultimate ready, so can maybe look to impact some of these lanes. His ganks have gone a little awry. I guess the first one wasn't really his fault. GBM gonna find Meteos, but Meteos just tunnels out to safety. Again, just making sure Jensen's lane's going well.
They're trying to deny the blue buff, actually, because Meteos was in there as the blue buff was respawning. He's actually hoping to catch GBN over there and scare him off of it. Give Jensen time to move over, and we might be seeing a fight in the blue buff area or in the top lane.
Ooh, sneaky, little low. Culling's there. That's gonna force a flash out. Bunny Fufu maybe turning it around. LeBlanc's here. Here's the TP in as well. Meteos also made his way up, and OQ just gets tagged up. He's going to get shot down there by Sneaky as Jensen actually gets it.
Yeah, and anyone could have taken that kill. OQ didn't even bother using summoners, but they give it to Jensen because gold is actually a little bit more valuable the further ahead you can get from someone. Like, 1,000 gold advantage is on one person is better than a 500 gold advantage on two people because your items multiply with each other. So the more kills and the faster Jensen can get ahead, the higher his chances are of completely taking over this game. 3-0, he's on a good pace.
Certainly is. 100% of the kills all belong to Jensen. As we'll see if GBN can continue weathering some of the storm here. CS is nice and even, but unfortunately the rest of the map is not, as C9 with a nice play in top lane. Continue to play aggressively. It's poor OQ. I don't think he's ever getting out of this.
Yeah, as soon as NRG try and go aggressive, though, they get double TP'd on. I mean, he dashed forward above the minion line, and then it's like, all right, time for double TP. One comes in pretty far behind on a ward. Sorry, just a single TP, and LeBlanc had roamed up. Sneaky wanted it. He threw off the last bullet to give it to Jensen. Jensen took it beforehand.
Poor OQ.
It was the smartness of Meteos and Bunny Fufu who didn't want to steal the kill.
Yep, chain CC to death there, unfortunately for the Lucian, so does keep the summoners, but didn't really have a choice. Bunny Fufu's actually in the bottom lane now. Trying to get Sneaky onto Quas. Might have a swap back here as, Sneaky's also in the back, so might look for a dive. Might just look to get some pressure down, but let's take it this lane. They're going to swap back down and actually look to try and take the turret. A little bit of a poor back timing there for Quas. Will give Cloud9 a turret here, but NRG pushing it topside might be able to trade.
I really think if Cross is there, maybe he would have died. So
yeah, true.
Maybe unfortunate back timing. What's interesting here, though, is whether or not NRG decides to try and push that top lane, because they had been almost freezing it, afraid of incoming gank pressure. Just kind of goes to show that NRG aren't necessarily up to date with the pace of the game sometimes. Now they're pushing it with the defense. They should still be able to trade the turrets.
Yep. So just some trades here. Impact getting aggressed on, but just gets slowed down. Good proc there on the Santorin jungle item, but Impact gets himself out. Jensen already gone back as well. Got himself a Morello Nomicon now, and I did just notice he has teleport. So that could have been a real bad time in the bottom lane, but NRG don't overcommit. Smart play there from them as Cloud9 just going to convert back into this Ocean Drake.
Yeah, and with OQ still in the top lane, there's not a way for NRG to realistically contest this. They also don't want to be fighting a Drake into a Morello Nomicon at 11 minutes LeBlanc. That is a rather strong champion. And GBM had just gone back to base. So smart timing by Cloud9 to take that trade.
Yep, GBM has hit his items that you mentioned, but fortunately, I think it might be too little too late. Jensen seems to have complete control of the lane right now. In fact, Cloud9 rotating in. Maybe looking for damage on the mid here. They're going to ride the wave in, but GBM there with the wave clear. Ooh, that's bad news. Does tag him with the snare from Jhin, and now Jensen leaps forward, gets himself out. But GBM burns everything just to live.
Yeah, as soon as he gets back with some of his defensive items, he burns both summoners, but NRG on the return.
Here we could give flash ulti, knocks up 3 there. Sneaky trying to get out of it as Quas front lining in. Santorin takes one out with the ultimate, but Quas going to get chained up again as Jensen pops that ulti. No kills on the return, though. NRG with a nice counterplay.
Yeah, they had the numbers advantage. That was really solid, and Santorin had a great executing ultimate. Remember, Impact is still in the top side. His teleport would be up, but it would be rather dangerous to use in this situation.
And again, like a wave clear, they're going to try and defend
They're
it, but
going in
Meteos
with it.
goes in! Tower goes down, and Meteos going to get smashed by Santorin. Tower goes down as well.
Up on the play. Impact, is he willing to give up on the play? Meteos wasn't.
Teleported in.
When to cut your losses.
Not this time. Impact, oh, maybe now. Just get some damage onto Santorin, takes out the ward. But that might be it for Cloud9. They'll try and counter push this mid lane, but Sneaky's top side. Really solid play for NRG to get themselves back into the game.
Yeah, and this is where things could get dangerous because Cloud9 kind of needs to snowball this game. Looking at the magic resist that NRG is going to be able to pick up. They see the opportunity to go for GBM, but he quickly uses both summoners, and Jensen takes 2 turret shots plus some important cooldowns, but mainly it's the pillar into the flash ultimate from Kiwi Kid. Knocks up 3 people because Meteos had actually walked in to try and peel Quas a little bit, and then the Runic Echo's ultimate from Santorin procs and also finishes off the Jhin, and then that extended as they had 5 people in the mid lane, and basically Meteos went in when they still had 3 people there, so he was easily focused down since he didn't have tank items yet. Over-aggression from Meteos in defense of the turret.
Yep. Couldn't defend it either, so NRG will trade a turret and get a nice important one. See if GBM can gatekeep that turret for long enough, but he's Victor with 2 Hexcore upgrades, so you have to think he can. Meteos, though, trying to maintain control of this top lane. Gonna take that Scuttle Crab away. I imagine the top lane out is their next target. With a Drake down on the map, Sneaky's back in that top lane trying to push it down as Quas just farming this up from under the bottom half. Impact continuing to play up and aggressive, but no TP this time.
It's definitely on that side of the map where they're going for plays, but it could even be in the mid lane. They know there's no summoners on GBM, so he's a sitting duck in there. Roam up from the Sandra. If he was even close, they would just chain him down. But Quas follows up. The Roman actually stops that. That was good team play by NRG right there.
Yep, again, defending their mid lane advantage now. It's GBM going to get babysat through maybe the next 5 minutes or so as he gets towards those first items for Victor. OQ also able to keep the tower very healthy here in the top lane. C9 still playing a straight 2v2. Struggling to find a bit of that pressure. Feels like the momentum slowed down a bit ever since that nice play from NRG. Meteos, though, onto GBM. Tagged in by Bunny as well. There's Jhin going to snare him up, but that's just too much CC. Meteos gets himself on, but Zyra again goes back in. Bunny Fufu low. OQ able to take him out. Jensen almost died as well. That's Zyra.
Yeah, the counter-engage potential of Zyra is really huge if you can't kill her immediately.
Ooh.
But you can also get caught out.
Yep, Kiwi Kid does get caught. Taken out there by Meteos, actually, as Frozen Tomb plus the Jhin snare is more than enough. NRG do overextend a bit there, but an effective trade.
Yeah, just a bit. It makes the trade favorable for Cloud9 at the end of the day. 2 kills going over to Meteos. It'll be good because he does need to tank up if he wants to make initiations, but obviously would be more ideal if they could have got them onto Jensen, who had took a bunch of harass. Watching this again, they get the knock up on a GBM. He puts down his stun field, which delays it a little bit. Then Meteos able to finish it off, but because the stun field had rooted them, Kiwi Kid can chain it with the Grasping Roots and a Strangle Thorns, which was very successful. Santorin then steals the buff, which gives Kiwi Kid some confidence. But that's a Lissandra you're chasing, buddy. Level 10 Lissandra. Quick ult, easy kill. Doesn't even need the Jhin shots to come back through. No. Poor positioning at the end by Kiwi Kid.
Yep, he gets himself killed. Zyra certainly very squishy. Nuku just pushing this out in the top lane. Does have his Ghost Blades, so should be a pretty easy turret take. Kiwi Kid and Quas here as well. Able to get this turret for themselves. So NRG, Gold League going to be back to even after they take this turret out. And it really just is that Ocean Drake that hangs in the balance. And I guess now we have to look at gold distribution. We talked about it. Jensen has been empowered in the early stages, but NRG have equalized everything else.
Exactly, but then it's also coming back to that thing we stated earlier. What's better, 1,000 gold lead on one person or 500 gold lead on multiple people? And it's 1,000 gold lead on Jensen and a 500 gold lead for OQ, essentially. And then that's about it, because C9 took the turret down, so it's still a big advantage for Cloud9. Still favor Cloud9's kill distribution, especially because currently there's still multiple targets for him to be able to assassinate, specifically Kiwi Kid and OQ.
Well, C9 are going to look to snowball this game. It's a crucial next few minutes that will demonstrate it. Mid-tower open gives them a lot of space to play with, and Infernal Drake up in 40 seconds means it's a very obvious point for Cloud9 to go and fight over. NRG, they're probably going to have to try and fight for it. Cloud9 might start to run away with it, but one wrong team fight at this point puts NRG and all that hard work right back to where they didn't want it. Cloud9 can maybe look to retake momentum.
Definitely agree with that. I will say OQ, though, would have a small item advantage, but he has to play these fights so carefully. Really, they have to wait, essentially, for Jensen to go for an assassination before they commit anything. It's a very tricky game to play.
Good whole division right now, though, for NRG, actually. C9 try and take complete control of the area. Starting to put those wards back down. But not too much vision directly on the pit. As Impact actually is shoving out this wave. A little bit of trouble. We've seen just how quickly people die to the combination of Santorin and Kiwi Kid. Maybe not where you expect the burst to come, but certainly has enough of it right now with the early AP.
Yeah, they got the base damages on lockdown right now. The scaling will come from the Victor and the Lucian, but right now it's the Krakus and the Zyra.
Well, Drake's alive. Cloud9 going to start it. NRG maybe not interested in a fight here.
Yeah, Quas would have to teleport in. This could be a steal attempt by Santorin. And they've taken 50-50s in the past. There's the teleport, though. Jensen is in flank position.
Yeah, Quas is in, but Kiwi Kid looking vulnerable.
Boy.
This is risky. Drake goes over to Cloud9. They'll secure the Infernal. Do they go for a fight? They've got GBM. Impact going to go straight in for it, but he doesn't take the claw. Jensen just looking for his moment. Goes in, dives for it, looks for Santorin, gets out immediately. NRG, very well played to not die there.
Yeah, and Cloud9 is also being hesitant not to overcommit because they know how well Kiwi Kid can turn. So I actually really felt right there like Cloud9 was trying to bait Kiwi Kid's ultimate before doing a full initiation, both with the claw and with Jensen first distortion in, because they really didn't do anything with those spells. Those were just fake outs for Kiwi Kid. Kiwi Kid doesn't bite though.
Oh no!
Oh.
Last auto, needs one more. Doesn't have it.
Oh, just out of range.
Jensen's fine. It's a few bullets on the back end, but no one's gonna die again.
Wow, that was incredibly close for killing Kiwi Kid. Kiwi Kid goes full Magic Pen. He has no extra magic resist in his build, which to me is suicidal. Like, it's cool, Magic Pen is great, but please, against still
please
LeBlanc,
be safe.
You don't need 40 magic penetration this early into the game, Kiwi. It's better to be alive.
Well,
35 will do. Build some magic resist.
You live that time, so clearly calculated as Riftchild going to get donated over to someone on Cloud9. They are starting it, and no one in the area from NRG to contest, so another clean objective take here for C9. As the pace has slowed down a little bit. Cloud9 not getting the same advantage they got in Game 1, but I think still taking fairly similar looking risks. NRG have done a much better job adapting. Damage control has been good this game, and they are starting to scale up, even though Cloud9, they are up 2,000 gold, so still with a lead here at 20 minutes.
Exactly, but most of that lead was super early on in the lane from Jensen when they had NRG basically send the whole team to try and kill him, and he still walked away with first blood and no deaths. I feel like when Jensen gets Ludens is when it'll get really crazy, because he's going to have this level 11, basically level 2 ultimate spike before the enemy team has time to build Aegis or Magic Resist. I also question Santorin not rushing a Locket in this game. He's gone for a Spectre's Cal, so he himself will not get bursted out, but the Locket would really protect Kiwi Kid and OQ from the Fatal Burst this point in the game, whereas now I feel like when Jensen gets Ludens, he's going to be able to kill whoever he wants.
Yeah, and with that teleport again, he's actually split pushing relatively effectively. Does chunk out Quas there, but Quas holding strong with that ultimate. Should be just fine on the Trundle for now. Other than that, looks like lots of attention towards that left side of the map. Cloud9, I think, trying to get some vision around Baron. This is kind of how they got ahead in the last game, but Meteos is going to start again with a monopoly on the vision, takes out the Scuttle Crab, as Impact working on that top outer. Should get that relatively soon as he does take the tower there.
Yeah, and it's actually an opportunity for NRG to push a little bit in the mid lane, because they've seen the flanks of C9 and with Jensen and Impact in the side, but the problem is it's double TP. Teleport LeBlanc creates more map pressure. He's actually trying to deal with Trundle. I don't feel like this is the right split push matchup for Cloud9 here.
Not sure either, but this is what they've got so far. The Impact's making his way back down, so maybe they'll swap that up. Jensen, though, at least getting some farm for himself. He's getting towards that second item we mentioned. Unlikely the Ludens, but we'll see what he opts for. Sneaky, just taking hold of mid lane, farming that up for himself. Seems like, again, bit of a lull here in the game as the champions just get towards item number 2. And with Drake down for a little while longer, Cloud9 in no rush to really do anything. NRG happy to defend for a while as well.
C9 might actually be going for a kill on a Quas. There's Lysandra in behind. He's jumped over both walls.
It's a sneaky from Impact. Jensen going to try and bait it out. There's the pillar in. Jensen just dancing around. But Quas, now he knows the jig. He's going to try and take out Jensen. That's actually the right one, but he's going to get locked up by Frozen too. Quas flashes forward. Jensen going to reactively flash out of the way, and Impact, he does get the kill.
Yeah, noble effort by Quas, but at the end of the day, kill still goes over to Cloud9, so a nice setup right there. With Impact making a really nice path through the Dragon Pit to get behind Quas for that kill. Another one for Cloud9, and Jensen gets the assist gold. Impact gets the full gold. Luden's completed.
Yep. That's a strong spike there for Jensen. Let's watch this one again. Quas really did make a big effort of this.
Yeah, I mean, Jensen doesn't land all of his skill shots, and Jensen's obviously baiting a little bit too because he knows what angle Impact is coming from, so that's why he gets close there, and Quas nearly bursts him down. And here, when he still has the flash, like, this was Jensen being a little greedy and wanting the kill because Impact could have secured the kill totally by himself, but Jensen really wanted it. Then they end up trading flashes. He still lives, but can't secure the kill.
Well, no objective convert, unfortunately, for Cloud9. Impact did shove the wave in bottom lane, but Quas went to answer that with a bit of help from Ocute. Drake up in a minute 10, though, so second Infernal could be in Cloud9's hand soon. We'll see if NRG look to team fight there. Almost found the fight they wanted for the last Drake. You have to think they've powered up a little bit since then. And might be fine to look to have that big mid-game team fight that they kind of feels like it's built for. Like Quas still taking damage from Jensen, but he's Trundle. Not particularly worried.
Yeah, it's a blue buff LeBlanc though, so it's a lot of harass you'll be able to get down. This is actually Oki going for the gank. No flash on Jensen. 2 seconds till his distortion's back up.
Yep, and there's a lot of damage actually with the TP. Might turn it around. Oki does get the kill, and Impact's like, I'm not coming. See ya.
Yeah, my eyes played tricks on me because I knew how strong Jensen was. Like, did he kill Oki?
Yeah, that's what
I saw the shutdown, but no. Oki was able to actually flash heal away from the distort point from Jensen. They punish him for giving some greedy harass, and the timing on that is actually really suboptimal there for C9. Turret and maybe even position over the Infernal Drake.
Yep, gonna lose his tower here for sure. Now evening things back up, 3-3 in turrets there. As NRG claim the bottom outer. Impact's doing some work in the top lane, but he doesn't have his teleport, remember, and that Drake is back up. Meteor's trying to steal this red. Very greedy from Cloud9 again.
Yeah. I mean, they really want this Infernal Drake. Jensen can teleport in, but they will not have Impact. They're going for the teleport anyway.
Yep, they're going to look to try and start a fight. Cloud9 know they can start something here. GBM may be caught. Going to get zoned out. Jensen can keep him away for now. Little low on mana as well for GBM, but Cloud9 don't quite have position on this objective.
Right, but they're mainly buying time for Impact to arrive on his level 15 Lysandra. He's been picking up so many side waves in this game. Is actually exceptionally far ahead. I just realized.
Yeah, wow.
100 CS ahead of Quas. That's insane.
3 items done as well, plus the tier 2 boots. Impact.
We've been so focused on Jensen,
yeah.
We're just like, oh, by the way, Impact is crushing too.
And that sort of thing, you know, left to his own devices, Impact just quietly overachieving in that top lane matchup.
Yep.
Drake does go over to Cloud9 as a result. NRG just can't find the angle for a team fight.
Definitely not. And they're trying really desperately to get anti-burst on at least a couple people. And I'm going to talk about Aegis again.
Okay.
Only because against burst teams, like technically from a totally selfish perspective, a Spectre's Cal will be better than a Locket. Like a Spear of Perception will be better than a Locket for yourself. But you help your team so much more because one Aegis on one person will make the person with the Spectre's Cal even more unkillable. And it will also help Kiwi Kid and Okyu not take true damage because they don't have any magic resistance on. The total gold value of the aura is way higher than what you pay for it. And against double burst champions, you need to make as many people on your team as burst immune as possible.
You certainly do.
And since not everyone is building Spectre's Cals, you need an Aegis. And even if everyone is building Spectre's Cals, you still need an Aegis because it gives you the aura.
Yep, and it feels like Centauran may be the culprit there because Zara doesn't really want to build it. Sure, Kiwi Kid can, but that early Randuin's sticking out a little bit there. See how much it costs NRG. I imagine Aegis is coming at some point, but we'll see. Maybe you'll be disappointed again. I'm sorry,
yeah.
Jet.
This is really weird. It's like someone had a conference and decided that wasn't a good item.
Maybe they know something we don't. I doubt it. Impact. Level 16 now. There's the burst.
Yeah. Doesn't quite get him, but that was free poke, essentially.
Getting, that looked like a 3-shot. Getting kind of close to a 2. That's worrying signs for OQ.
Well, remember, they have 2 Infernal Drakes as well, so that's an extra 16% ability power you're seeing on both Impact and Jensen.
It's not helping your argument about the Aegis, unfortunately.
No. Well, if we're going to die anyway, what's the point? It's like, I mean, I could make the bed, or I could just never make the bed.
Get initiated on by Impact. Not yet. Doesn't flash in for the ulti. Snare hits GBM. Now they're in. Good flash on bar from Meteos. Looks for GBM, but he gets flash cleansed out of the way. Bullets doesn't land. GBM almost
Quas is in.
down, but yeah, Quas is straight in for it. He's getting bursted down. Kiwi Kid gonna try and turn things around, but Impact flashes straight forward. Ulti's on the Quas. Jensen's gonna dive in for it, and Sneaky does claim the kill. Now Bunny Fufu tags onto GBM, but that's gonna have them being flashing out of it. GBM still does good damage. Cena get one kill and back away.
Yeah, they use all their burst on a tank, though, and you can see actually how hard it is for Cloud9 to have sustained damage. So, like, if this game did get super late and they properly tank up, it would be rather difficult for C9 to actually win those longer team fights, because that was a pretty poor setup from NRG, and they still only lost one and got a bunch of people on Cloud9 low. So look for Cloud9 to be very careful about their setup in the future and maybe just try and get picks around objectives.
Still, this one started again. Another great long-range initiation from the Jin.
Yeah, gets the root on a GBM. Videos flashes in, but then flash cleanse, so he stays alive. And look at that teleport from Quas. He just sits in the middle of the whole team, and like, they don't necessarily want to burst him because he's super tanky and they want the burst left for others. And then they finally decide, all right, we'll just kill him. Would have preferred a self-ult though from Impact, because they were still gotten a slow on to Quas, and he wouldn't have taken as much damage. But then even Bunny has to flash away from the persistent damage of NRG.
You can see the issues when they don't find those flanks. Cloud9, again, don't really want to be hitting those tanks, so good battle line set up there for NRG. Only lose Quas in the exchange, and Cloud9 not really off to the flying start they wanted, despite the strength of their early game here. They're about 4,000 gold ahead, which is decent for this stage of the game, but starting to drop off a little bit with this double AP combo.
Yeah. I think Jensen jumped out to such an early lead. We almost thought the game was later game than it actually was. Like, he still has a pretty big lead, and he's still hitting some of these pretty impressive item breakpoints. Void Staff being completed now will only help with that.
Impact almost there as well, so double AP is going to be effective for a little while longer.
And Impact has 300 CS.
Yeah, Impact is going crazy.
29 minutes of the game, like, he's been untouched in the side waves this whole time. What did Meteos just do?
Oh, he's chilling out.
It in and then just tunneled back.
I regret everything.
Yeah, Cinderhulk. Oh, that was not great.
Corrected though from Cloud9. Meteos gets himself out of the pit again, making sure they have vision around Baron, which they have done a great job of securing. Jensen here even going to clear out a pink ward. Doesn't quite get the last hit.
Yeah, he'll go over for it again.
Hey.
There we go.
Nice and safe.
Low cooldown on his distortion right now.
Almost level 3 ultimate as well. Like, we talk about breakpoints. I feel like the double AP is about to hit its peak.
Yes.
Very soon. But if C9 can't really get a big lead from there, NRG are going to start to turn this game around. And they're not going to take a team fight lying down at this point. It's not like they don't have power on their team right now.
Very true. But we also have to keep in mind, like, this is a level 17 Lissandra against a level 9 Zyra with 30 magic resist. Like, you can kill that Zyra without your ultimate at this point. If Kiwi Kid is ever looks at Jensen or Impact wrong. So that's, I mean, yes, Kiwi Kid has great counter initiation, but if he ever is in the wrong spot, all that counter initiation goes away really fast.
Yep.
And that'll be what can break the game wide open for Cloud9.
Well, it seems like they're just looking for a cheeky pick then. Again, trying to make sure they have vision around this left-hand side of the map. Cloud Drake up in 35 seconds. Cloud9 with 3 Drakes already. Might just add one to the tally and get that Elder Drake spawn on the way. Lissandra continuing to split push. Impact again working on that 4th item, likely avoid stuff, but not too far away. And Cloud9 playing a little slower this time around, but still meticulously around the objective. They know what their comp needs to do to win, and seems like so far they're executing well. NRG, though, making sure they play nice and safe through the next 5 to 10 minutes of this game, because, like you said already, Jensen looks at someone wrong, they're going to die. Absolutely.
Cloud Drake will be basically what they need to take in order to make the Elder Drake spawn at 37 minutes. They would have preferred another Infernal Drake to improve their burst to unthinkable levels, but this will do. Maybe help them get a pick. Also will empower Elder Drake when they can take it at the end of the game.
Starting to get to that point as well. Game going on quite a bit longer than the last one. Again, have to credit NRG's defense here in this game. Despite how silly the early 5 minutes of the game were.
Yep.
Even for a turret, don't find it. GBM able to clear that wave out very quickly with a death ray, but there's that Drake we expected. Cloud9 pick up their signature one. And we'll see if, as they go back to playing around the Baron area, what happens. NRG, though, being very careful not to face check, which is a good sign.
They need to be super careful not to face check, because even though Cloud9 can use Baron as a threat, this is an incredibly slow team to kill Baron. Jin's sustained DPS is low, as is LeBlanc's and Lissandra's when doing Baron. It's not like this is a team that has a Jinx and Nazir or a Cassiopeia somewhere who can just, or a Kindred who can just shed through Baron. Very, very low Baron damage. But if Energy checks, they're vulnerable to burst. This is a teleport. This will be a fight.
Ooh. Actually, Sneaky looking for it. Here we get a little low impact in the backlash. Straight through everyone. And Jensen dives in for a Cloud9 fight in the fight they want. Impact, he will die, but Quas, he flashes out the safety. Meteor splashes after him. And a huge play from Impact.
Wow, he doesn't quite get his Zonias off because of CC, so he ends up going down. But he got the dream there for the Sandra as far as initiations. And when we see that again, it almost looks like he killed Kiwi Kid on accident. He was probably going for OQ, but the splash damage killed Kiwi Kid. This will most likely be Baron for Cloud9.
Well, you said it. Not the best Baron team, but with 3 members of NRG dead, they'll safely take it. Santoro not even walking up to that side of the map. Cloud9 will claim Baron. Game is now in their hands with a very nice looking gold lead after that play.
Yeah, such a beautiful teleport flank by Impact. So they already started, and they're funneling energy towards him. And yet he goes for the burst on OQ, and the AoE just kills the Zyra because they're grouped up a little bit, but that's because they were being funneled backwards. Quas ends up going down as well after Meteos flashes to Umburo. Great fight from Cloud9.
Yep, good CC chain, like you mentioned, for Impact at least getting traded over, but we talked about that Lissandra that's just quietly crept up to 100 CS in the lead and almost a full item build, actually.
Yeah.
Impact, left to his own devices, did have to make the big play. Boy, did he make that one count.
Yeah, he is going off this game, actually. Nearly 14,000 gold, 33 minutes in. Highest gold on the team. And when he gets Rabadons, that type of collapse is going to be even more impressive.
Well, Cloud9 now falls in their court. They're going to shove down this turret. Jensen threatening forward. That was Oki who was looking for. Would have been an easy kill, but they'll claim another turret there in mid as the T2 goes down. 4-3 right now in turrets. We'll see if Cloud9 can do damage to those key inhib turrets.
This siege is going to be really interesting because if Jensen distorts in and then presses Q and then R onto Kiwi Kid, it is enough damage to kill him from 100 to 0 at this point in the game with the level differences and the low magic resist. So it's going to be really hard for Energy to, Energy to defend.
Well, LeBlanc going to GB, and that time takes him out in 3 spells.
Wow, so that was with an Abyssal Scepter. That's the type of siege that you can have with a late game LeBlanc. A little bit too close to the sun, and there goes the wave clear. Here comes Cloud9.
Yeah, Quas is trying something in the top side. Does have his TP, but just looking for a trade here. C9, though, going to break in mid. Jensen gets snared up, but he doesn't go down. Cloud9 going to take out that inhib. Quas still working on it in top lane, though, but Cloud9 might just fancy a race.
I mean, I feel like someone should go back for him. Jensen has done that because they know they're going to get 2 inhibitors anyway.
He's got TP as well. Now going to chase Quas away. Can he kill him? Quas is pretty tanky. Jensen distorts in, gets bitten, but Jensen lands the chain in, and Quas is not safe from the Rotho Jensen. Impact takes that Kiwi Kid back in the base of NRG.
And when Jensen kills him, he can teleport back into base if he's able to do it, although that fight's actually getting pretty close over there. Either way, it looks like Cloud9 might end on this side.
Yeah, Quas dead actually does go down, and Cloud9 going to push in to take it down. A desperate play on ult.
Respawn.
Maybe not. Santoro back in. Bunny Fufu low. Impact though pops as Zonias, takes out OQ. Sneaky eating damage from GBM, but he pops the ulti in. They're going to try and take him out. That's the kill they need, and Cloud9 are going to swoop in to end the game.
Wow, and they got the break they were looking for when they found the fight around the Baron Pit, and very swiftly once they had that edge, they can take it to victory. Nice 2-0 series by Cloud9.
Very, very strong play. And that man on your screen right there, Impact, finally having a big game, it felt like.
Sneakily, he pulled off just as big of a game as Jensen did. All the focus was on Jensen at the beginning of the game, but left to his own devices, 1v1, Lissandra versus Trundle, he crushed.
Yeah.
And he got incredibly far ahead, not just in gold, but also in levels. He was level 17 or 18, easily first in the game. Yep. No one on NRG was above level 16 by the end of the game, but both Impact and Jensen were, just to give you an insight into the control that Cloud9 had on that game. There's a lot of gold value in levels as well as the actual gold value that you have. That was a 12,000 gold lead, so good job by Cloud9 and a perfect week.
Yep. Certainly a good way to end it. 4-0 with some very impressive looking play. That last game, definitely looking a little dicey. Energy again with some good holds here and there. But it was Impact that just broke open the game with that one big play.
He really did. And it was a bunch of small plays to give them the small leads and the gold advantages in the wars to teleport to in the first place. And for Energy, like, they played decently on their back foot, but you need a plan after that, right? Like, it's great to be pretty good at stalling out games, which I actually think NRG are good at. But if you are able to stall out games, unless those are at least occasionally turning into victory, it's a useless skill.
Yep.
So it definitely feels like NRG have to go back to the drawing board, figure out a more aggressive play style, or just a better way to try and win from behind instead of just prolonged defeat.
Yeah, you can see some adjustments there as well. You know, Lucian Zyra much more aggressive this time from OQ and Kiwi Kid, trying to really take it to him. Lots of attention in the early stages of the game to affect the point of the game where they thought was going to be the big one, which was Jensen for a lot of that. But the double AP, we talked about it. It definitely had a timer on it, but Cloud9 made sure that was never a factor.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, a lot of times, sometimes you think you always want GBM to carry confidence into the game. He sent out a tweet last night, which is like a bunch of poorly drawn characters, like one slapping each other in the face, and he was like, "That's Jensen tomorrow. I'm gonna get him." That's not what happened, unfortunately.
No, not this
GBM.
time around.
He got killed a lot, early, mid, late, 1, 5, and 3 on Victor. He also got egged on Anivia to being killed multiple times. Like, this was Jensen and Cloud9 really taking it to GBM and the entire NRG team.
Yeah, just amazing stuff there. And again, Impact with such a huge play. I think we're actually going to watch that again just to see how this all sort of worked out.
Yeah, so this is after
Never mind.
Victor had already been killed. But no, this is fine. This is the final push. Kiwi Kid instantly killed, as is customary with that build. And no Aegis on the team. Cloud9 then just pushing in. And remember, the LeBlanc and the Trundle are dueling on the other side of the map right here. So once that goes down, even though this is a little bit dicey with the Victor and Lucian coming back out of the base, they can chain CC onto OQ. I mean, he tries to dash into Impact, and Impact just does really good timing with his spell combo and his Zhonya's. And then here comes the Blanc. They get some slows onto GBM, and he just easily finishes him off for the final kill of the game. And that was just, instead of going back and forth and back again, they make a relatively aggressive call to push to end the game, and they do so.
My favorite part is that Stiggy's just sitting in GBM's ulti, firing off shots at Jim, but did it cost it? And before we head to the analyst desk, let's check in with Freak, who has an interview with Cloud9's Danish Dynamo.
Hey, thank you very much. Great cast in the day, by the way, Pastry. And I am here with Jensen, the wonderful mid laner here, possibly the best in North America. Do you feel that way?
Maybe.
Maybe. Humble. I like this. I actually want to talk about some good mid laners, though. You and GBM. Last night, GBM tweeted out some literal smack talk. It was a couple of line drawings. There was a character kind of slapping you across the face. So I want to know, did that tweet tilt you any? Were you like super nervous coming in then?
Nah. Me and GBM are good friends, so it's all cool. Yeah, it's just friendly banter.
Tell me actually sort of what this friendship looks like in the LCS, right? You guys are all on the same stage. You guys play against and with each other sometimes. Sort of walk me through what pro gamer friendships are like sometimes.
Well, I actually don't talk to that many people outside of my team too much. I sometimes talk to people, and GBM is a really nice guy, so whenever I see him, we like talk a lot and just have fun. That's about it, really.
That's good to hear, though. That went well. And speaking of going well, of course, Cloud9, 2-0 in matches, 4-0 in games, a perfect week for you guys. Coming into this week, did you expect that this was going to be the form you would be in to get this 4-0?
Yeah, I definitely think we have been improving a lot this past week, so I kind of expected good results. I didn't expect us to 2-0 Envy and beat them in that convincing fashion, but, you know, it is what it is, and it's good.
Yeah, certainly good to have those wins. So then I want to talk to you about the other teams at the top of the standing against you. A recent win against Envy this week. You still have Immortals and TSM who have bested you. You'll play them again. You'll probably play them in the playoffs as well. Talk to me about trying to compete to get back to this top level and beat these other top NA teams.
Well, I think our series against both TSM and Immortals were pretty close. So I think going into the next series against both teams, I think we have a pretty good shot because we've been improving a lot as well. So I definitely think we can kind of come out on top next time.
And this time, this means this time it means Cloud9's heading back to Worlds, and all your fans can be excited to see you guys once again defending North America, making a good run.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I think we can definitely get to Worlds, so let's hope we do it.
Jensen, thank you very much. Congratulations on a great set of matches here today. I'm going to send it over to the analysts to talk about that match.
Thank you very much, Freak. Cloud9 putting the nail in the coffin for NRG there in Game 2. A slightly slower game, still only 36 minutes long, but 35 minutes long, but you compare that to the 26-minute win in Game 1, a little bit slower for Cloud9. But all in all, you know, as Jensen said, for them, they've seen steady improvement week over week. I believe we've seen the same thing.
Right. I think the biggest thing to look at is Dragon Control. They're a team that had been struggling a little bit with it, and this series they got every dragon. You know, NRG didn't get a single one. They
Every
got Barons
dragon.
both games. They baited them well. None of those Barons really looked like, oh no, are we gonna get this or not? You know, they kind of did a really good job of forcing people to walk into them. This game they had that big fight.
They also took the Rift Herald in this game. The Rift Herald was not taken by either team in game 1, so essentially Cloud9 controlled every single global objective over both games.
As expected, you know, I want to see more of the cologne come out, more bodied, because that's exactly what Jensen ended up doing. This.
You got a little bottle of it yourself?
Maybe.
I mean, I'm sure he's got it here at the studio. We saw him with it the other day. But either way, I want to dive right into this. Team comp-wise, of course, we see this time the Trundle pick very early for NRG again. At least this time, Cloud9 picks an extra tank target for it.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I mean, Quas is obviously a player who's known for his unorthodox top lane picks. He has a counter to Trundle. It's not a big deal to play against him. The Illaoi looks very solid, but now for some reason, what worked yesterday, they refused to try it again today, where Cloud9 has had some priority onto the Trundle every once in a while. So why not just let him take it? And for some reason, they just want to first pick it and gets into the Lissandra, and Lissandra, you know, the impact, getting into the backline of Zyra and Lucian is going to just wipe them every time.
I don't know what to call it, but it feels like they're like trying to like mind game the draft too hard sometimes, where like, you know, Impact does have a very good Trundle, and so like I can understand the mindset of like, let's take the Trundle away from him, but then you're not really playing to your team's strengths, where I think giving Quas the opportunity to play that Illaoi into Trundle like we saw him do against Zig yesterday, get a huge lead just by himself basically, and not putting Quas in that position, and it just doesn't seem like they're playing to their strengths. It seems like they're just trying to like mind game other people.
Right, now as we continue to talk about this Cloud9 victory over NRG, over on NA LCS 2, TSM has just closed out their series in our match of the week against Envy in 2-0 fashion. So, you know, for them, still dominant, still dominating the top of the table. I do want to dive into gameplay here, and I want to put a spotlight on Jensen in the mid lane, on this LeBlanc. A ton of focus thrown towards that mid lane by the likes of NRG, and boy, did he deal with all of that pressure in the early game pretty phenomenally.
Outplayed them all. At the first gank from Centauran, which was a questionable gank, the Flash, obviously, either trying to release some pressure off mid lane, but immediately Media's in the counter gank, and quick level 3, quick chains, and gets turned around beautifully. They get juked. They have nowhere. Who is who? Who's the real LeBlanc?
Yeah, I love the decision to go back there. I feel like some mids might not have had the aggressive mindset to take his distortion back. And then here, the second gank comes in. NRG just dumps everything that they have into
I mean, he has no flash at this point, and he still gets away with it.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the kind of thing where it feels like they're trying way too hard to influence GBM's matchup, and they're throwing away their top advantage to do it.
Yeah, I really hate that gank by NRG, who have always picked a winning 2v2. That's why we see both of these games, both dual lanes, going to the top side, because Cloud9 is trying to avoid the oppressive Caitlyn or the oppressive Zyra lane. And then when their advantage is in the top side, for some reason, they decide to blow every single summoner, except the Ignite, into somebody else's lane. So now who's going to win the lane?
Right.
You got nobody winning lane anymore, and it's like, okay, now the game's going to be lost gradually.
I think it's really interesting to point out the difference between how C9 plays around like trying to neutralize an enemy's advantage and how NRG does it. In game 1, you know, Meteos goes top once, burns the flashes, returns 5 minutes later at the very last second to get the kills. Here, NRG, you know, they go mid early to try and help GBM out. They get the flashes. It doesn't work out exactly right. And they instantly go back up there, blow everything trying to do it. Don't get it. It's just like it's like the same idea, but just the execution are miles apart.
And for many reasons, player of the game is going to go to Jensen, but primarily the way that he did deal with this early pressure, got himself those early kills. We saw he had the first 3 kills of the game, utilize that advantage to push himself to a 6-1-4 scoreline by the end of the game.
He's 2-for-0 on his LeBlanc player of the game, so I'm expecting every single time he whips out LeBlanc that we're going to see some really outstanding performances by him.
It's a statistical fact, man. Play LeBlanc, player of the game.
There it is.
He loses the game, 0-10, player of the game.
LeBlanc against Zyra is pretty easy to get player of the game. It's fodder.
That's
I mean,
true.
especially with the Lissandra setup we saw a couple of times.
All right, well, we've got a fresh series of game right around the corner, so stick around as Phoenix 1 takes on the defending champs, Counter Logic Gaming. North American LCS returns in just 3.5.